Okay guys, I promised to do this video a bit earlier. I said I'd do it in a month because I did a first part about 3 months ago and I'm finally getting around to doing it for you guys. This is all-time greatest fragrances that still smell great today, part 2. I will not be doing a part 3 unless you guys want me to do another part of these type of videos. Basically, I'm pulling fragrances that are favorites of mine that I consider greatest fragrances and what I think about them currently. So there's newer fragrances and older fragrances here. We'll get into a little bit of history and things like that, but I'm going to tell you about 20 more all-time greatest fragrances that still smell great today. So if you're curious to find out about them, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yeah, today we're talking about the all-time greatest fragrances that still smell great today. This is part 2. If you haven't caught the previous video, please go catch it. These are some of the best fragrances for me, and I'm putting these fragrances in here now because some fragrances disappeared and came back, and I want you guys to take advantage of getting them if you were looking for them and things like that. Some of them, not all of the fragrances, and some of the fragrances are much more recent than others. But I think they might have gone through some reformulation or repackaging and things like that. So I'm going to tell you all about them. First off, we're going to start off with CHYPRE PALATIN from the house of MDCI. So this is a really yummy CHYPRE, but to me it's more of a warm, fuzzy, ambery fragrance launched in 2012. So it's about 11 years old. Still smells great today. It's from perfumer Bertrand Duchaufour. It features notes of Tolu balsam, Galbanum, Castoreum, oak foam, prunes, benzoin, hyacinth, tangerine. It's very warm and fuzzy. It's very spicy as well. Definitely very ambery and balsamic from the Tolu, and I just love the way it smells. Very, very original creation. Really a fantastic offering from this house, and of course perfumer Bertrand Duchaufour. If you haven't gotten your nose on it, do. It's a technicality. Is it really a CHYPRE? Is it more of an amber? To me it's both, I think. More leaning on the amber. It's called CHYPRE PALATIN. So we're going to the house of Narciso Rodriguez. It's Narciso Rodriguez for him. So I recently acquired the Eau de Parfum version. You can go with either. They're both available, but a bit not as widely, especially the Eau de Parfum. Originally launched in 2007, the Eau de Parfum in 2012. Created by Francis Kurkdjian. It features notes of violet leaves, musk, patchouli, and amber. This stuff is fantastic. I recently posted about it on Instagram. And man, I love the way that it has this kind of muskiness, but still keeping that kind of ozonic touch from the original. But I feel like the EDP is a lot warmer. So in general, you can get either, but if you want that muskiness from the EDP, go with EDP. And I feel like the EDP is a bit more challenging to get, but to me, this stuff smells fantastic. I really love it. A great creation by Francis Kurkdjian. I think he did a great job with that one for Narciso Rodriguez. And it's a house that really doesn't get a lot of hype here in the States, but that fragrance definitely deserves to be hyped. Moving on to the house of PENHALIGON'S, going to a fragrance from the early 1900s. So this fragrance is exactly 120 years old. This is BLENHEIM Bouquet. Really a wonderful fragrance, and they've reformulated to a great smelling fragrance. I think it still smells fantastic. It's got lemons, lime, pine, black pepper, lavender, so it's aromatic, it's tart, it's a bit sour, astringent, kind of a citrus fragrance with lots of aromatics. Really a great fragrance. I think it's perfect in the heat. I think the tart, sour, astringent fragrances really cut through the heat of the summer, the humidity and things like that. So if you're looking for a fragrance that's perfect for that kind of a temperature, or you live in like a really humid climate and you want the very fresh fragrances, definitely try BLENHEIM Bouquet. It does have a bit of a mature quality to it, but I really love the combination of citruses and aromatics. I think they smell great. So this next one is from the house of Gucci. It's a unisex offering. And it was gone for a while, and it was one of my all-time favorite oud fragrances, and they recently brought it back. It's Gucci Intense Oud, this one right here. Still smells great today. It's just really weird because this started disappearing when they launched Gucci Intense Oud, and then I think now Gucci Intense Oud is discontinued, is kind of slowly disappearing, and this is making a comeback. I don't understand what's going on, and I hate the marketing departments of designer houses, but this is a great, great fragrance launched in 2016, created by Aurelien and Guichard. Guichard, it's oud, patchouli, saffron, Bulgarian rose, pear, orange flower, and raspberry. For me, it's more about the oud and the woods and the patchouli and the saffron. It does have leathery touches. The Bulgarian rose appears a little bit, adds a bit of a fruitiness from the pear and some citrusy floral touches, but it's a great fragrance. If you haven't tried it, definitely try it. I think it smells fantastic still. And I don't know what happened, but I feel like they pulled it because Gucci Intense Oud launched, and then they discontinued that. I think it's discontinued because it's not on the Gucci website. I haven't seen it lately. So now they're bringing this one back. But you can find it still, not very cheap, but you can find it and it still smells fantastic. Moving on to the house of Le Labo, it's Bergamote 22, one of my all-time favorite fragrances. Originally launched in 2006, so it's a bit like, 16 years old, so it's been around for a while. And to me, it's one of the best citrus fragrances. It smells fantastic to me. It's created by Daphne Bugey, Bergamot, Vetiver, grapefruit, orange blossom, petitgrain. It's basically the citrus come to life, the citrus tree. You've got the tree itself, the fruits, and you've got the flowers and the leaves. Amazing fragrance. Bergamote 22, once again, it's a perfect fragrance to wear in the heat. Moving on to the house of MEMO Paris. Now this one has gone through a facelift. Their bottles are now frosted. You can see through the juice. This is African Leather from MEMO Paris, launched in 2015. To me, it still smells great. You know, it might have a bit of a different smell, but I think it's mostly the same. Created by Eleanor Massenet, features notes of bergamot, cardamom, saffron, cumin, geranium, patchouli, oud, leather, vetiver, musk. This is probably one of the more popular fragrances from this house, probably the most popular leather fragrance, but they do have a nice series of leather fragrances. This is probably one of my favorites in the collection. Russian Leather recently got discontinued. It was more of like that barbershop-y kind of leather fragrance, very pine forward. This is African Leather from the house of MEMO Paris. So moving on to the house of Diptyque, this is Tam Dao from 2012, and the original Tam Dao in Eau de Toilette was launched in 2003. So the brand launched in Eau de Parfum in 2012. You can go with either. I feel like the EDP is super fantastic. The creaminess is also a little more amplified with the sandalwood, but in this case, this particular sandalwood is not as creamy as some other sandalwoods. For me, I feel like I'm getting both styles, like very chopped and granular, dusty, you know, wood chipping kind of the sandalwood plus the creaminess together. So it's that kind of a fragrance, but it's created by Daniel Moliere, sandalwood, cedar, amberwood, coriander, and vanilla. So it does have some light sweetness, vanillic touches. And of course, as I said, it's a bit of syrupy and smooth creamy, and then also, you know, just like a wood shavings kind of a fragrance. So it's Tam Dao EDP, wonderful offering from that house. Moving on to the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is Tea for Two. This still smells fantastic. This one actually was shelved a couple of times and brought back. I think it was just a very, very popular fragrance, launched originally in 2000. And when I was first getting into the reviewing game, this was on its way out and they had discontinued it. And I think a lot of people said, bring it back, bring it back. So 2000 launch, Olivia Jacobetti created this. It's tea, tobacco, cinnamon spices, honey, ginger, anise gingerbread. And this was recently featured in the fragrances that smell like Christmas or cinnamon fragrances video. And it's definitely that. It's very, very warm and comforting. It does have the tobacco, so that might be a little bit off-putting, but all the other gourmandish notes in here are really wonderful. Tea for Two from the house of L'Artisan Parfumeur is a great, great fragrance. Moving on to the house of Guerlain, it's Habit Rouge, this one right here. I've got the Eau de Toilette here. This is the original version and initially launched in 1965. They launched in Eau de Parfum in 2003. I actually like both versions. I used to prefer the EDP more. I've kind of really come full circle to enjoy the EDT. And I believe when they launched the EDP in 2003, they kind of like reformulated the original Habit Rouge in Eau de Toilette. But you know, it smells fantastic. I really love it. It's created by Jean-Paul Guerlain. Features lemons, rose, vanilla, carnation, leather, rosewood, benzoin, sandalwood. A lot of other notes, and it's kind of like the masculine answer to something like Shalimar from what I've read. It's still a great fragrance. I haven't checked the new bottles. A lot of folks are saying the new bottles are in the square bottles that look like the L'Homme Ideal collection. So I'll report back as soon as I can get my nose on those. But as you know, when I was smelling them in passing, they smelled fine. I just haven't worn them. One other thing I should say, the new Guerlain Habit Rouge L'Instinct, disappointing as heck. I hated it. Anyway, Habit Rouge still smells great today. And we've got another lovely fragrance that's a pretty much a classic, but going back to only 2007 to the house of Chanel. It's a Coromandel, and I've got the 2016 version here. It is an eau de parfum. So it was initially an eau de toilette collection, and it became an eau de parfum collection created by Jacques Polge and Christopher Sheldrake. It features patchouli, benzoin, incense, and olibanum. But you also have the ambery touches and woody notes and some orangey, citrusy touches as well. Really kind of has that white chocolate effect when you're wearing this one, and I feel like it's because of that benzoin note that is blended with the patchouli to create a bit of a, you know, a white chocolatey effect. Normally, when they mix it with ambers and things like that, it goes kind of like a chocolate cakey, dark chocolate or milk chocolate, but here we've got a very white chocolate effect happening. Wonderful fragrance, still smells great today, even in the eau de parfum. It's Coromandel from the house of Chanel. Moving on to the house of Frederic Malle, it's Musk Ravageur from 2000. So it's gone through a reformulation for sure, especially after Estee Lauder acquired the brand. It's gotten less musky, more gourmand to me, but initially it was created by Maurice Roussel. This is probably my favorite Maurice Roussel creation from Frederic Malle. The last one, Uncut Gems, so disappointing, I hated it, especially for the price tag. And then his Dante Bras, I think I like it, it's very powdery. But this one is definitely very musky, gourmand with cinnamon, musk, vanilla, lavender, sandalwood, amber, patchouli. Delicious fragrance actually, Musk Ravageur from the house of Frederic Malle. Moving on to the house of Houbigant, this is a Fougère Royale. So this fragrance initially launched in 1882 from a perfumer by the name of Paul Parquet. They were trying to recreate the smell of a fern leaf if it had a real smell. There is some kind of a fragrance there, but it's not really intense. So I think what they've done is really done a great job. So initially that's when it was launched. Then Houbigant relaunched it in 2010 with perfumer Rodrigo Flores Roux. In 2010, as I said, this has, you know, it's a fougère, it's barbershop-y fragrance. It's very aromatic, it's very herbal with lavender, geranium, oak moss, clary sage, bergamot, chamomile, and coumarin, which is basically tonka beans. It's a great scent, very classy, very masculine, very aromatic, very herbal, you know, green and citrusy. It's Fougère Royale from the house of Houbigant. Are you a fan of that particular fragrance? Let me know if you are a fan of any of the fragrances I've discussed so far. And moving on to the house of Hermès, it's Un Jardin Méditerranée. So this is one of my all-time favorite Hermès fragrances, and I still remember the day I discovered it. I was in Portland, Oregon visiting Nordstrom, and I smelled it there for the first time. It was like 2003 or 4. This launched in 2004, and I was like very, very happy because it was a cold winter day, and this was very kind of you know, bright and happy and sunshiny and juicy, citrusy green. Still remember that day, and it still smells great today. Initially created by Jean-Claude Helena, it features fig leaf, cypress, juniper berries, orange blossom, oleander, bergamot, lemons, mandarin orange, and musk. Really a delicious fragrance. Very, very citrusy, very, very green and figgy and fruity as well. So this is Un Jardin Méditerranée from the house of Hermès from 2003. Moving on to the house of Montal. It's a Black Oud from 2006, created by Pierre Montal. It's your typical combination of oud and rose, and a job well done, but in this case they also throw in the patchouli, takes it into a dark earthy territory. So you've got the oud, you've got the beautiful jammy rose, and you've got the patchouli, the earthiness, and the combination is kind of dry, jammy at the same time. You also have musk, labdanum, and some citrusy touches, and so it creates for an ambery, musky, and also a bit citrusy presence in the fragrance. Black Oud, and that is a wonderful fragrance. And then this next one, I think it's still out there. That's why I'm featuring it here, and it still smells great. It's from the house of Tom Ford. This is the original Men's Noir. It's once again kind of a musky fragrance, just like the Narciso Rodriguez for him in the eau de parfum concentration. Different smells though, I think, just musky. There's definitely animalic presence with Noir. I don't think it ever caught on, but it's out there. I could still buy it at the discounters. It's created by Olivier Guillotin, who's done a lot of fragrances for Tom Ford. It features patchouli, iris, amber, vanilla, rose, civet, leather, black pepper, violet, pink pepper, and lots of resins and vetiver. Wonderful, wonderful offering. If you don't know this one, check it out. It's nothing like Noir Extreme, nothing. And it's also nothing like Noir Anthracite. It's its unique fragrance, and that's what I like about this collection from Tom Ford. Great signature fragrances for men. Sadly, they didn't really do very well. Anyway, Noir, a great fragrance from the house of Tom Ford. If you can get your hands on it, get it. Up next, going to the house of KIEHL'S, one of their only fragrances. I remember at one time they had a lot of different fragrances, but I guess they all got discontinued. L'Oreal is known for discontinuing a lot of fragrances. fragrances because Kiehl's is under L'Oreal, but this is Original Musk. So apparently Kiehl's used to have this fragrance originally created in the 1920s. Then it was discontinued and brought back in 63, and 2004 is when this version launched. So it contains 92.8% galaxolide, which what we do is Secret brand, who is a sister brand of Lab on Fire, has its own version of a musk which is strictly galaxolide. The two fragrances do remind me of one another, so if you're ever curious, look that up. But this also features, in addition to the galaxolide, patchouli, tonka beans, lily, neroli, rose, ylang ylang, and orange blossom. And galaxolide is a synthetic musk, and it smells like real deer musk. For me, this is super fantastic, and it still smells great today, even though it's gotten thinner, and I absolutely love it. Kiehl's Original Musk. It's also very inexpensive. It's like 45–50 bucks for that, and I absolutely love that one. I've recommended it to some folks that don't like musky animalic fragrances. There's definitely an animalic quality about that one, but you gotta be into that kind of stuff to enjoy that one. So it's a kind of a daring fragrance, be warned. Moving on to the house of Serge Lutens. This is Ambre Sultan, this one right here. This came out in 1993. Man, it smells great today. And to me, this is a great alternative to something like Mitza from the house of Dior, which I think has gotten disappointingly butchered, I think. And then also the fact that we can't get Absolute Pour Le Soir from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It's a great alternative. Not identical, but great alternative, and still smells great today. It's a 1993 release. It's created by Christopher Sheldrake and Serge Lutens together. It features resins, amber, bay leaf, myrrh, sandalwood, benzoin. It also has lots of spices and vanilla and herbs and patchouli. Really a great fragrance. Really love this stuff. If you don't know it, check it out. It's Serge Lutens. The only problem with Serge Lutens is they're not distributed here in the States anymore. You can order from their website to ship here, but you can't find them in any stores. At least they're being cleared out since like a year or two ago, so it's going to be less and less available. If I haven't mentioned, this is an unranked list, but the next fragrance I'm talking about is going to the house of Loewe. This is Essentia. From 1988, this is also a great alternative for Polo, Ralph Lauren's Polo. It's very aromatic. It's an aromatic fougere. I don't know the perfumer on this one, but it features fir, pine needles, lavender, oak moss, leather, juniper berries, green notes, tarragon, galbanum. But you know what? It's just really authentic. It smells great, and the leather in here doesn't smell fake or weird like the Polo reformulation does. It's just a much better version of that. They're not identical fragrances, but it will be a great alternative to Polo. Green is what I'm talking about, but a great scent. This is a great scent on its own. It still smells great today. It's Essentia from the house of Loewe. If you don't know that one, do check it out. Then we're going to the house of Le Labo. Oh, I've got some stains on my label here. It's Bal d'Afrique. Bal d'Afrique is a really great vetiver fragrance, and to me it's a very fresh fragrance, kind of earthy, woody, also very unisex vetiver, because vetiver tends to go masculine to a lot of women, and this is created by Jerome Epinay from 2009. It's vetiver, African marigold, violet, cyclamen, bergamot, cedarwood, bouchu. I think this features notes of violet leaves, because for me there's an ozonic touch, and also there's that Byredo DNA. There's like something in here that reminds me of a lot of the fragrances from Byredo. Most definitely, since a lot of the fragrances are created by Jerome Epinay, there's that whole signature that's in here, which I like. I like that whole violet signature that's in a lot of the Byredo fragrances. Really a great scent. Very unisex as well, and still smells great today. It's Bal d'Afrique from the house of Byredo. And then last but not least, going to the house of Amouage. It's Lyric Man. My very first Amouage purchase, and absolutely love it still. It still smells great, and I know it's gotten through some reformulations, but this is a fantastic smell. Launched in 2008. It's created by Daniel Visentin. It's rose, lime, bergamot. There's musk, incense, angelica, pine, ginger, saffron, and sandalwood. Very original rose fragrance, which I really love. It's also a bit of a gender bending fragrance. It's very unisex, if not leaning a little on the feminine side, but just wear this in the summertime and you'll see how great it shines in the heat. Lyric Man still smells great today from the house of Amouage, and that's the last fragrance I'm talking about today. What are your thoughts on these fragrances? Let me know, put some comments down, and also let me know if there are any fragrances that you've been wearing over and over again that still smell great today. You're not tired of it, you really love it. I'd like to find out what they are. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. I do have one bonus for you guys. This one is Molecule 1 from the House of Eccentric Molecules. This still smells great today, although I don't know how it would change because it's only got one ingredient in it. It's ISOE Super, but man, this is a great fragrance. I've turned this one on to a lot of folks. A lot of people tend to love it. I think people that love molecular fragrances, more skin scents and things like that, they're going to be really happy with Molecule 1. And to me, it still smells great today. It's just basically, as I said, ISOE Super. Originally launched in 2006, created by Geza Schoen, and it's a very woody. It's a woody fragrance, kind of taking on the characteristic of cedarwood, because ISOE Super is a synthetic recreation of cedarwood. Anyway, this is Molecule 1, and that's that bonus fragrance for you guys. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a good one. Bye-bye.